Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, Jess. Thank you for tuning into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh in here tonight for Bob Pompiani, and Chris Mueller is over to 93.7 The Fan Cam, and we're going to be taking your phone calls at 412-575-2600 is the number. Not good news with the Buccos, Chris. When you hear that your hard-throwing starting pitcher is suffering from elbow discomfort, it takes me back to Jameson Taillon and a few others in the Pirates organization. I know they're going to seek a second opinion. Right now, he's just supposed to miss his next start, but my fear is it's something worse.
I think the worst words you can hear when you're talking about a pitcher in baseball, we could power rank these probably. Forearm tightness, elbow discomfort, shoulder pain. None of those are good. I would say forearm tightness for me, Richie, is personally the worst, but we all don't want to say out loud what elbow pain, forearm tightness tend to lead to, because it's another two-word phrase that's actually the name of a former Major League pitcher, because he's the one the surgery is named after. I hope it is obviously just a scare for Jared Jones and that he's shut down for, you would hope at this point maybe a month and then he's good. But I think we all are conditioned to assume the worst. And, when you're a guy that's maybe, I think my height, about 6 feet tall and, about 190 pounds, and you're throwing as hard as he was throwing and you're throwing breaking stuff that broke as severely as his stuff did on such a high volume basis, it always just makes me nervous, Richie, when it's not somebody that's a big frame pitcher. That's why a lot of teams still look for guys built like Skeens or Garrett Cole. Bad example there because he's got him under the knife.
Yeah.
Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer. Most teams don't try to build around power pitchers who aren't built like most power pitchers are, and you just hope for the best for Jared Jones. But now this potentially punches a gaping hole in their rotation, and it further underscores how frustrated I am that this team made very few real moves, if any, in the offseason really to augment their roster. And they just kind of stood pat and seemed to say, oh, we got all these young pitchers. Surely they'll all remain healthy and be even better than they were last year. It further reinforces how frustrating their offseason was.
Yeah, whenever you hear elbow discomfort or forearm tightness and guys take rest, it still doesn't really work. I mean, I think that was the case with Jameson Taillon. That's why I bring up his name. It was something similar to this, and he went back out there, and it just got worse, and then they realized it was Tommy John. I'm not too optimistic about this. I don't know anything. The Pirates are claiming that they're getting a second opinion. They're going to know something in a couple days. But, like you said, and it goes to show you it's going to happen with the smaller frame guys that throw hard. Guys like Bubba Chandler, who could get an opportunity now if this is a long-term problem with the Pirates.
Well, Chandler's at least a bigger frame guy, 6'3", maybe closer to 6'4", bigger dude. I think everybody kind of wants to see what he's capable of. I have a very good memory of watching him and seeing the numbers more or less, actually not watching him, but seeing what he was doing at AAA once he got called up last year. I think it was pretty encouraging that when he got called up to the level closest to the majors, his game elevated considerably from what it was in AA. I think his ERA in Altoona I want to say about 19 appearances was 3.7. In 7 starts with Indianapolis last year, it was 1.83. He was striking out more hitters per 9. He didn't give up a single home run at AAA. So he did some things that you really like very well, keeping the ball in the ballpark and missing bats. I would hope he is up with the big clubs sooner rather than later, particularly if Jones is lost for any significant period of time or more.
Yeah, so Jones, Oviedo shut down. Potentially Jones. Oviedo shut down. Andrew Haney's having an awful spring right now, up a 10 ERA. He got shelled today. The Pirates' starting rotation was supposed to be their strength, but outside of one guy, maybe two, Mitch Keller, I'm not going to discount him. Bailey Felter, I think he's a good 4th, 5th guy. But now you're missing a good number 2 guy and a 3 or 4, depending on how you would rank these guys. I don't know if this is their strength anymore.
I mean, what strengths do they have besides having Paul Skeens? Mitch Keller faded badly in the second half last year for the second straight year. They have Paul Skeens. I mean, that's what this is. This just underscores it's a team built around one guy because they have made the conscious decision not to try to build any more significant parts around him and have kind of more than one foundational piece. So I just, this is kind of an all fears realized potentially situation. I hope it works out for the best with Jones, but you name some of the other guys. You can never have too much pitching, and just the way they went about it seemed very haphazard, and unfortunately, it seems that that's being proven correct right now.
When you say it like that and simplify it, I mean, you are correct. Paul Skeens, do they have another strength? You would have said maybe someone like David Bednar, but he's had an awful spring and had an awful year last year. He's not a strength at the back end. I mean, O'Neal Cruz maybe, but you don't know how he's going to do. He's playing a new position. No hitting. I mean, one guy. When you put it simply just like that, they have one strength, and it's their ace pitcher.
Yeah, and they have a window that's going to close. He's not going to be here forever. He's not going to see the end of his first, the 6 years of team control. I feel pretty confident saying that. And they have a team right now that if Jones misses extended time or worse, I think is going to struggle to win 75 games. And I would come back and say, what are we doing here? Why does the GM have his job still? Why does the owner seem completely unwilling to really hike payroll and aggressively pursue players in such a way that would make them more of a contender in a pretty weak division? We're all left asking some of the same questions we've been asking for a very long time about this franchise. The only difference is they have the best pitcher in baseball, and that's a gift you shouldn't squander, which unfortunately it looks like they're more likely to do than not.
Yeah, it could be a sad state of affairs. All right, we're going to take a break. 412-575-2600 is the number. Back in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is our Xfinity Mobile Tweet of the Night. Served in honor of Mr. Scotty Scheffler. It's the Masters menu. We're 22 days away from the Masters, and you can watch that on KDKA. And you can see some of the dishes. This is pretty similar to what he picked in 2023. This is the dinner, the Tuesday before the Masters starts there. Cheeseburger, sliders, firecracker, shrimp. I love this menu right here. They have Texas-style chili. You can get wood-fired cowboy steak or blackened redfish, warm chocolate chip, skillet cookie. That's his dinner menu. So my question to you, and maybe to some of the callers out there, what would you pick? What would be on your menu? I know some of the things that would be on my. I love buffalo chicken sandwich. Buffalo chicken would be on there somewhere, and also pizza. Got to have pizza for me.
All right, I'll go detailed here, Richie, and hopefully give some of our more adventurous listeners a template. My appetizer would be just a gigantic sushi boat, just tons of sushi that
like
people
tempura
could take as they
sushi
wanted.
Or raw? What, like
no,
just any?
No, the
variety.
Real deal. Come
okay.
on,
All right,
sashimi. I'm talking about just pieces of raw fish if we need to. I love that stuff.
All right, but
so
you won't eat cheese. You eat raw fish, but you won't eat cheese.
Melted cheese. I'll eat every other kind of cheese. Anyway, yes, I will eat raw fish. It's delicious, and everyone should try it. So a gigantic, sushi boat that's the size of the table, okay? Now, we've got to obviously have something between the appetizer and the entree. So for the appetizer soup kind of thing, we're going to have Texas brisket chili made with brisket burnt ends.
That's specific. I like it.
Yeah, I don't have to put beans in it, even though I make my chili with beans, because Texas chili, there's a big argument about that. But how about a burnt end-based chili? And then I'm giving you two choices. You want some sort of crazy Chilean sea bass, fine. But I am doing a very special kind of steak. You ever had the cap of a ribeye, Richie? The top part of the ribeye, it's unbelievably soft. A spinalis steak. Look it up if you haven't done it. I'll look it up. That's outrageously good. And then I love food. I'm getting very hungry here. I could go any number of directions. Tiramisu for dessert. I think that the peach cobbler is an excellent choice. I would personally, though, go with one that's an off-the-board pick. Mrs. Mueller's, my mom's, homemade blueberry pie. Elite pie. If you never had blueberry pie, or if you've only had it at the store, you got to find somebody who makes a great blueberry pie, because that would be my dessert pick.
Yeah, I like bread pudding. I'd put lobster on there. I love lobster. It'd probably be some kind of chicken parmesan or lobster.
Too hard to eat the lobster, though, Richie. It's so much effort involved. You know what I mean?
I know, but it's so good, right? And appetizers would be like chicken wings, pizza. Maybe I'd bring in a local pizza that I like here. Love chicken wings.
You could just go. Why don't you just have the local bar cater it, Richie? Chicken wings,
just
pizza,
have that.
buffalo chicken sandwich.
I might call Carnivores in Oakmont and have them come cater my meal. That would be great. It would be
nice
tremendous.
Pop for them.
Yeah. All right, let's go out to the phone lines. We got Nunzio and Braddock. How you doing, Nunzio? Nunzio, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey,
Sorry about
good.
that,
That's
guys.
okay.
Hey, on the Steelers front, they need to forget about Rodgers. He's over the hill, and we got Rudolph. We need to get another young kid behind him and teach him to be the next quarterback and move on. And as far as the Buccos, I think Bubba needs to stay up. If or whether that guy's hurt or not, he still needs to stay up.
Yeah. I think the Bubba Chandler thing, he's already down, so the Bubba Chandler thing would be probably May or June. I don't think they're going to bring him up. I mean, Harrington could be a guy that's really, I think, where you'd go next, potentially. As for Aaron Rodgers, I'm getting tired of this saga. I want it to be over. Just say Mason Rudolph, go get Joe Flacco to be a backup, and let's just move on from it. I'm just tired of it.
Donnie made a great point, though. Donnie made a great point on the show today that I feel like it was very succinct and very. Okay. Sometimes people just cut through the noise with something very straightforward, and that's what he did. He just made the point. He's like, listen, we can all dislike Aaron Rodgers because it just seems like he's me. It's all about creating this drama, and I think a lot of those are pretty well-founded criticisms of him. And you might also feel like, hey, he's not the kind of player anymore close to it who warrants tolerating that. But, like, separate from being annoyed by him, this isn't his fault. Yeah, he's doing whatever he wants to do. That's his prerogative. He's a free agent. You don't have to be led by the nose, or you can't be led around by the nose by a guy like Rodgers unless you allow yourself to be. That's where the Steelers are the ones with the problem here. They're the ones letting this happen. At any point in time, they could just say, forget about it. This isn't worth it. The player's not worth it. We're going to take a risk on next year and just have Mason be the starter and maybe have Flacco, like you said, back him up. And we're going to move on about our business. But their steadfast refusal to do that, and the fact that they seem like a little puppy dog following Rodgers around or just waiting for whatever his next command is going to be, that has allowed this story to turn into the kind of thing that's annoying you, that's annoying me, that's annoying a lot of people. You might be mad at Rodgers, but this is a Steelers problem, not him.
Okay, they offered him something. They have a number on him, and they're not going to go beyond that number of what they think he's worth. Do you think that the Steelers, and I think we talked a little bit about this before, I mean, do you think the Steelers are sitting there and they're playing the long game? Okay, this is what we have. We're just going to wait for them to break our way, and then he's forced to sign with the Steelers.
What if he doesn't
could this
break
be their
their
plan?
way?
Well, then they go with Mason Rudolph.
If it's a plan, I think it's a pretty weak one. They look so pathetic in all of this, in my opinion, so desperate. We'll sit here. I know you're trying to frame it like maybe they're the ones executing the power play. They're not, because Aaron Rodgers can ultimately do what he wants. He can sit out. He can just say, I'm going to join a team mid-season because I'm Aaron Rodgers and I can be your offense. I don't need to learn it. I just think they look desperate. I think they look sort of clueless at the position. They don't know what they want to do. They keep going for these Band-Aid fixes. Think about this, Richie. Say they actually get them, and then say they do their usual incapable of being worse than 9-8 or 10-7, and they sneak into the playoffs. I think they'd get their doors blown off even with him. They would be a team then that since 2021 would have had 3 separate Hall of Fame to-be quarterbacks, because I do think Wilson will get there, get blown out in playoff games for them. Can you possibly imagine another NFL team that would cycle through 3 Hall of Famers and have them all be equally ineffective when it comes time to get to the postseason?
But you look at the trend; they're all old guys too. So that's not the answer right now.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're stapling old guys onto this because I do think the head coach is stung by how badly the Kenny Pickett situation went. I think he has some self-doubt in there about his ability to bring along a young quarterback, or maybe impatience. And so I think he's getting desperate. I think this is a Mike Tomlin problem above all else, as far as wanting these past their prime veterans that he just trusts because they've won before. My God, it's been 15 years since Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl, or I guess 14 technically. The guy has not been some sort of massive playoff winner since then. It feels like Mike Tomlin, the guy who loves to scout players, the guy who's obsessed with the talent acquisition portion of the job, even though it's not really his job title, Richie.
Yeah.
Seems like he's now more looking at the back of the baseball card with some of these guys and not actually watching what they are on the field.
He was out scouting Jalen Milroe today. Took him out to dinner last night. Let's go out to our friend Chuck in Uniontown. How you doing, Chuck?
Good evening, fellas, and thanks. Well, you answered my first question about Bubba Chandler taking over the starting rotation. Probably wouldn't be right away, but he might might be a factor in May or June. But I want to go back to Mull's comment. It's all the Pirates' fault once again. Their laziness for doing nothing in the off season. It's just like lipstick on your collar. It's gonna tell a tale on them. And this to me,
Chuck, I think you're being nice by saying laziness. I think it's cheapness. That's the word I would use. It's cheap. It's being cheap and not spending money. I don't know if it's lazy. They're actually they work harder than other teams because they're looking for deals.
I don't even know how hard they're working with some of that stuff. I mean, the bottom line is it's always going to be a bad look for them if they have an offseason like this, as long as they have Skeens and he's healthy and pitching at the level he's pitching, which I think is going to continue. But to me, it looks demonstrably, significantly worse when you've heard the owner in recent years say there's an urgency to win, and you've heard them pay lip service to this idea that they really care deeply about putting a winning product on the field. Actions speak louder than words, and their actions suggest something very different than what they've been saying these past 2 seasons or thereabouts.
All right, we got to take a break. Come on back next. Stay right there.